Welcome to In Touch Crime Beat. I'm Officer Don with Fayette Commonwealth's Attorney Ray Larson.
Out of jail, okay? Don't mess up.
And those are the people, those repeat offenders, the ones that go to prison. And
They say we're the #1 rated radio show in the whole country.
Ray, we're just talking about the percentage of what they want to call property crimes, nonviolent property crimes versus the so-called violent crimes in Fayette County for the month of June. 92% of the crimes committed were the so-called nonviolent property crimes?
92%. Now, let me tell you what that says. 92% in June were property crimes, and that means 8% were what we call violent crimes. Mm-hmm. Now, we seem to be doing all right in dealing with violent crimes, but we're not doing worth a hoot in dealing with these people that commit property crimes.
Now, why do you think that we're doing all right with violent crimes in comparison? What's the reason for that? Why are we having?
It's pretty simple. Those are the people that are in jail or prison. Mm-hmm. You see, it works. Now, what we're not getting is it's not translating. A study just came out, Officer Don, and I pay attention to these things. But this study says that longer prison sentences reduce crime, especially burglary and fraud, meaning theft. That tougher prison sentences are particularly effective in reducing property crime when targeted at, guess what? Repeat offenders, which is precisely what's going on now. It makes a great deal of sense, especially when we realize in Lexington the vast majority of crime, 92%, is property crime, like what? Burglary, breaking into cars, theft, shoplifting, those kind of things. That's where it is. As we said, 92% of the crime in June in Lexington was property crime. That means people all around this town are being victimized by these people, and so you and I know that because we talked about it, that not only is that 92%, but guess what? These thieves, these thugs, have stolen so far this year almost $11 million worth of property in Lexington alone. And we know that a small percentage of these criminals, 5 to 6%, commit between 60 and 80% of the crime. And these people are the repeat offenders. I've talked about this for years because we keep up with these outlaws. That these people, these property criminals, have about 14 prior convictions before when we catch them again. So what is Kentucky doing about all of this? Well, unfortunately, our legislature and the courts deal with these repeat offenders in a specific way. Just the opposite. They passed these criminal-friendly laws and basically have adopted a philosophy of what they call supervision in the community. You know what that means? You know what it means. Probation. Mm-hmm. And what does probation mean?
It means there's no disincentive for these repeat offenders that make it a living to quit crime. And that's to commit crime. That's what they do for a living. They commit crime. They are professional criminals. And they understand the cost of the game, and right now there isn't much cost associated with the game if they know they're going to face probation, or at the very least 10 or 12 days in jail for what they're reaping. The rewards are greater than the punishment for these folks, and that's one of the reasons that we're seeing this spike. Now, people argue that the whole purpose of this new legislative effort was to make way for violent criminals in prison, because those are the most dangerous. That's what they would say to that. What do you say about that? I mean, wouldn't most people agree that it's more important to have the most violent people in prison?
Well, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But I also want the repeat offenders in prison because we know two things about those bums. First thing we know about them is when they're on the streets on probation, guess what? They commit crime after crime. And when they're incarcerated, we know something else. They don't. Because they don't have it, they're what they call incapacitated. And when you realize that it's only 8, now the things that get the headlines, Officer Don, is when somebody gets shot and killed. That's major violent crime, and that gets all the headlines. But what they don't report are these 50 to 70 other kind of crimes that occur a day, in serious crimes that occur in Lexington. That's the 92%. And they occur all over Lexington. I mean, you got people going into garages, you got people breaking into cars, you got people breaking into people's homes at night.
Yes, and no neighborhood is immune to this.
That's exactly right.
I mean, if you take the map and you look at it and you put these crimes, it happens everywhere and anywhere. We've had a couple of carjackings this past week. One happened in the Woodhill area, then another one in Beaumont Center. It looks like the same suspect. So totally opposite parts of town these people are striking. They're also hitting in subdivisions like Andover with burglaries. They're hitting over in Clearwater. They're hitting over in Winburn. They're hitting over in Eastland. I mean, it's all over the place. We've reached a point where no neighborhood community is immune to this. And there's nothing like waking up one morning and realizing that 8 cars have been broken into on your street, and then in one of those cases, somebody got the garage door opener out of the car, popped open the garage door, and then wound up in somebody's house. And while people are upstairs asleep, you've got this prowler going through their stuff, and God knows what would happen if it just happens to be a situation where, you know, you've got people home alone. And I mean, it's like, what do you have to do to finally realize what's going to happen here? I mean, violent crimes often happen out of these burglaries. When someone comes into your house, to me that's a violent crime. When they kick in your door or sneak in through a window, you can't tell me that that's not violent. You can't tell victims of that crime that that's not violent. In fact, our legislature agrees that someone coming into your home is violent. They think it's so violent that they passed what they call a castle doctrine, which now gives you the right to gun that person down when they come into your home. You don't have to ask them why are you here? You don't have to ask any questions. Under the castle doctrine, you have the right to shoot someone who comes into your home, who breaks into your house. But they say at the same time, it's not violent when it comes to catching and sentencing these individuals. That's confusing to me. Is it violent or isn't it?
Well,
Tune into the following stations to hear the full episode.